host for the Panola County Historical Highlights, the Texas Sesquicentennial Series. Today's guest will be Mr. Arzie Sanders, a retired educator, churchman, and community leader. My interview with Mr. Sanders will detail some of his experiences in education as a teacher and administrator during his 43 years in the public schools of Panola County. Welcome, Mr. Sanders, to Panola County Historical Highlights.
Thank you, Mr. Cariker.
It's a pleasure to have you here to talk about your experiences in the Panola County schools, but to give a little background to education as historical background. When did the black community have its first schools in Panola County?
There were several schools located throughout the district during the early days. And of course, the first of my knowledge through talking with senior citizens of that day, it was that there was an educator by the name of Louise Mona. She was teaching down in the area of which they called Chinquapin Ridge.
Chinquapin Ridge.
And several...
Where is Chinquapin Ridge?
Well, that's down in the southeast part of the county.
Okay.
And of course, later, I was told by the late Mr. Heenan Johnson, where he attended school, we had a log cabin nearing the railroad track, and it was just plain split logs for seats, and they used ground floors, and they had to do most of their work in their laps.
Yes. Wasn't any desk?
No desk.
No desk.
And they used these slates to write with. The curriculum was single. Everyone studied the same thing, and they had to purchase their own textbook.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, what time, about what period was this, when this first school in the Carthage area?
That must have been somewhere around 1873.
Okay, this was immediately after the Civil War period.
After the Civil War period.
Right, okay.
And Joe Benton was the principal of that school.
Okay.
And he taught that school for any number of years. Later, the school was moved over on Spring Street. It was a two-story frame building, and they had better accommodation than they had up near the railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Benton taught that school for several years. Then we had another educator by the name of Jim Benton, who taught, he and his wife there, just the two-teacher school then.
Okay.
And later we had a person to come in by the name of, well, we called him Horace Rowe.
Horace Rowe.
Horace Rowe.
Okay.
He was a strict disciplinarian. He believed that the only way to teach a child was to have good discipline. And that was one of his high points.
He believed in using the rod then, probably.
He did, definitely.
Right.
And those who went to school or attended school there with him, they can tell you the same.
About what time in history of the county was his work? Was this heir to the...
That was about 1895,
okay,
when Horace Rowe was principal.
How did these people get their jobs, and who paid them for their services?
Well, that was after the state had declared public school.
Okay.
And of course, the state did pay their salaries. They were very meager, but nevertheless, each district took care of the schools in its area.
Okay. Well, so this was the beginning of really a black school over on Spring Street.
Sure.
Okay.
And after that time, after Horace Rowe left, then J.C. Tatum, Professor J.C. Tatum, came to the school here in 1903.
1903.
That's when he took the principalship. And I'm sure he served continuously. He had a little absentee. He got ill.
Mm-hmm.
Then his brother Adam Tatum came in and filled the vacancy until he was able to return.
Right.
And he remained in that position until Professor Turner came to Panola County.
And Professor Turner, the Turner Schools was later named for him, is that right?
It was. Professor Turner came to Panola County.
About what year was this?
This was in 1922.
Okay.
And fortunately, I was a student during his administration there. And
He was an able educator, wasn't he?
Definitely, definitely. He was well versed. At that particular time, most of the early educators received their training through their local school. Then they would continue their education at Wiley, Bishop, and some of them would go to Prairie View.
Mm-hmm.
And in that instant, he entered Bishop College when he was only 16 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt the youngest entrant that Bishop College has ever had.
Right.
And the school grew in enrollment during his administration. But in 1922, when Professor Turner came, seemed that he completely revolutionized education for the black in the Carthage school system.
How did he do that?
First, he came in and his main objective was to establish an accredited high school. At that particular time, we didn't know too much about grade level. We went to school and we had to purchase our textbooks. And of course, sometimes some of the children didn't have textbooks because there were so many in the family that the parents couldn't afford to buy all the books.
Mm-hmm. So they just sort of went from one book to the other.
Sure.
Okay. But Professor Turner decided to make some revolutionary changes, right?
Well, it so happened about 2 years after he came, we had free textbooks. Then each child could have his series of textbooks,
Mm-hmm.
and that made it better. We only had 10 grades. The first year he came, he established a curriculum. It was a single one. Everyone took the same thing. There were 4 or 5 classes in one room, and as we got ready to recite, we would move to the front, which we called the recitation seat.
Do you remember who the superintendent of schools for the Carthage district was at that time?
Well, one superintendent was Superintendent Turtle. I remember him. That's about the only one I remember back that far.
And the head of the school was the principal. He was called the head principal or head teacher, or was he called principal, or what was the title given to?
He was called principal.
Principal, okay.
At that particular time.
All right.
We had a very...
And you had 10 grades?
10 grades.
10 grades.
We had 3 teachers the first year that he came. The next year, he added another teacher. We had 4. And we continued in that particular building up until 1925. Then a new brick school was constructed. The peculiar thing about the whole situation of black education in those days, there was not much revenue. So we had to pay our way most of the time. When we got ready for fuel, wood, like that, broom, we had an incidental fee. Each child would pay 50 cents, and that was to buy wood, crayons, brooms, and whatnot to take care of the janitorial services in the school. The boys would go out, bring in the wood, make the fire. The girls would sweep the classroom.
There were no hired custodians, were there?
No hired custodian.
Right.
The first one that got there every morning made the fire.
I can even remember that in my beginning of my school days, teaching days in Panola County. That's the way it was, wasn't it?
Sure.
Right. Go ahead.
And in 1925, we had the new building, and we began to get a little more revenue than usual. We increased our curriculum. We added vocational agriculture, and later homemaking. And it remained like that until 1950, when we moved to the new high school below the old site, still on Spring Street.
Still on Spring Street. And that is the present building that is now houses the...
Senior Citizen and HUDCO.
Right, okay. But that's the building you're talking about. It was built at about the same time as the high school, the old high school in the white community, is that right?
That's correct. We went into the New Turner High School over there the same time that you moved into the old high school here.
I was there in that movie, and you were there at that at the other
Sure.
place, weren't you? Right. Okay.
You see, I came to the Carthage Independent School District in the year of 1946. I worked as Professor Turner's assistant for 3 years. You know, he became disabled, had a stroke, and couldn't move around freely. And I came in under the superintendency of Mr. Martin.
Q.M. Martin.
Q.M. Martin.
Right. What background had you had? You started. Where did you start your teaching in the Panola County schools? Let's go back and pick you up a little bit and get you back, and then come back to the Carthage school system.
Well, I had my first experience in the Antioch district with a little school they called Chinquapin
Called Chinquapin in the Antioch
in the
community.
Antioch district.
Okay.
And of course,
Those were the days before consolidation.
sure, I was the principal, head teacher, and the teacher, custodian, and all.
You were the whole thing.
I was the whole thing.
All right. How many students about did you have?
I had about 20 students, and had
They were all age levels,
all age level,
from beginners
to
high school
the seventh grade.
Seventh grade. Okay.
Sure. It was just a grade school.
All right.
And I think that gave me one of my broadest experience. I was able to communicate with the smaller children, also the upper grade.
Right. So you were saying, and I could name a lot of school educators in Panola County that had their beginning out in those rural schools, and they were some good ones, weren't they? There were some good experiences that you learned there in those schools.
I enjoyed them.
What other schools you work in besides this?
I worked at the Gary School down at Gary under the superintendency of Mr. R.C. Beecham.
You mean Gary had a black school at one time?
We organized one there.
Okay.
I was the first teacher of that
All
school.
right. Okay.
Under his administration.
And that was located some 2 miles sort of east of Gary?
East of Gary town.
Okay.
And we had 2 teachers. We started out with 2 teachers and went through the 8th grade out there.
About what year was this?
This was I went to Gary in 1940, the fall of 1940. And I remained there until 1947,
Okay.
when I came to Carthage.
I started my teaching at Merval in '38, so I think it was along about that time that I got to know you as a fellow educator in Panola County.
Sure.
All right. After you left that school, did you come to Carthage?
I came to Carthage. That was the fall of '47. During that time, consolidation had begun, and enrollment was increasing at all levels.
Okay.
Shortly after that, we had 22 districts that voted to come into the Carthage Independent School District, and then we had 3 that was placed in this district by the county board.
Mm-hmm.
There we were able to broaden our curriculum and to add more elective to our courses of study.
Mm-hmm.
About 1950, Professor Turner retired. He left the school completely, and it all fell on my shoulders. It was then and there that we were able to start our first football team. We added more electives such as typing and shorthand. We had a laboratory science at that time, and we also started our first band. We had our first band.
All right.
There.
And of course, this was, in the days prior to the integration of schools. This was still under a segregated system of education in Panola County.
Separate but equal.
Separate but equal. That was the line, wasn't it?
That was the line. That was the bottom line. Separate but equal.
Okay, and in your role as the leader of that school, you did see, I'm sure, some progress and improvement and change as you were able to work with students in the Turner schools.
Sure, we are proud of the student that graduated from our school. We have several that finished who have gone into the field of medicine, such just to name a few. I can't recall all of them.
Okay.
But there we have Mildred Faye Jefferson. She was the first woman to finish from the medical school at Harvard University.
Wonderful.
We had Robert Lee Perkin. He's a dentist. He's now practicing in Detroit, Michigan. We have Freddie Lee Davis. She's practicing down at Houston. We have Wendell Butler. He's one of our graduates. He is practicing in Roanoke, Virginia.
Now he's practicing medicine?
Dentistry.
Dentistry, okay.
And we have several who have gone into the area of teaching. You have some now on your teaching staff that completed their education, high school education at Turner.
Okay.
And we also have some who've gone into the ministry and making a nice reputation as ministers. And of course, I could go on and on naming the progress of students who pass through the walls of Turner. Now, sometime you may wonder, when did it change from Carthage Colored High School and to Turner High School? That was in 1950 when we dedicated the new school. On that night, we gave an appreciation for Professor Turner for his many years of service.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, the board, Carthage School Board, named that school in honor of him.
No, Professor Turner.
Professor Turner.
That's where it got its name, right.
That was
and the change was from the Carthage Colored School to Turner High School. Right.
Sure.
Very good. Let's hasten along here. We've got some other important things I want to talk to you about. This is so very interesting. I want us to move on up a little bit into the time in which we, as we know, we moved into freedom of choice came along with the Supreme Court decision in 1954, I believe, was the year.
Sure.
That separate and equal wouldn't do. And so about 64, was this right, when freedom of choice was offered in our school district?
Along about that time, 64, 65. And one thing fortunate, it seemed as if the students who attended the Turner School stayed with Turner School. It was mostly the outlying school at East Side, South Side, and West Side. See, those were grade schools.
All right. When were those schools established out in the East and West and South? Were they built about the time?
It was about a year or two after we moved into the new Turner School.
Okay.
And the grade schools remained out there in East Side, South Side, and West Side. Okay. And we moved on into the high school. All of the children that completed their work in the grade school outside the district, out in the outlying district, came to Turner High School for the high school work.
Okay.
And it was those, when the freedom of choice came, well, some of the students from the outlying school, grade school, came to this school,
To the Carthage
high school,
Okay.
and we didn't have only
Very many.
one or two that left Turner and came to this school under freedom of choice.
Yes. We know that with the court order to integrate the schools of Carthage ISD came about 1970, that's right, and certainly I think you and I would agree that this inevitably had to come so that schools could exist or teach regardless of race, religion, ethnic background, so that all children can be offered the same opportunities, under the same setup. And of course, Carthage system was fortunate in that we could establish one first grade, and all students would attend that first grade. Is this right? And after we integrated.
That's true.
Okay.
All grades of one grade would be on one campus.
Right. We had
It's like the first, second, and third.
it was a completely unified type system, wasn't it?
That's true.
Our time is growing short, and I've just got to probe you a little bit here about what advice or what message would you give to boys and girls today, whether they are black, Mexican Americans, white, what, about education, the importance of education, the importance of staying in school and getting an education for this age in which they live today?
Well, back in our days, we had a very simple curriculum. We had a very simple community life. But it has broadened to the extent now it has become very complicated. Our community, we live in a complicated society.
Right.
You need all the education that you can possibly get and then specialize in some particular area. And I say, use that education wisely. You know, AB is a Latin phrase, prefix, meaning away. And USE, use, when you put the two together, you get abuse. So if we don't use it wisely, then we will abuse it. And I think that's one of the reasons, even though we have better education facilities, more students finishing from high school and going on to college, but still we are spending millions of dollars for education. And at the same time, we are spending $1 million for jails. Our jails are overcrowded. We are spending $1 million on our penitentiary. Our penitentiary is overcrowded. We have no place for the criminal. And as we say today, we don't have room in school, and we don't have room in our jails and penitentiary. It's a complicated society. So they should stay in school, get all the education they can, and use it wisely, and don't abuse it. That would be my say to the graduates of today.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Sanders, for coming and sharing on historical highlights, this interesting things about education in Panola County.